Hey everybody, this is my tutorial for the Elms song Speaking in Tongues from their second album called Truth, Soul, Rock and Roll. I also did a tutorial for Smile at Life Again. Those are both from that album. I was playing around with different ways to do this song. I've got it where I got a capo on the 2nd fret, so my D chord becomes an E when I do it. It's sort of, this method's kind of flexible. You either have the single acoustic guitar campfire version, or say you and a friend are playing the exact same thing, or say you and a friend are playing, you're playing this and they're playing something different, or they can play the lead part from the song. So I'll try to sort of show all the avenues here with this. They'll probably mainly be focused on the sort of single guitar method. But you know, I'll try to explain around it too. So you got some flexibility here whether you're playing by yourself or with a group. I did play this one with my church a few years ago. We actually got to play it outside. We got to play it in front of an audience. It was a lot of fun. It was actually a lot of fun, even though our charts blew away in the wind. It's another one where it was in my files, and I thought, well, there's another song I kind of want to play with, and I put a capo on the 2nd fret, and I've been playing around with what I can do with it. So anyway, it's a good rocking tune. It's, you know, like I said, you can either, this is a one-person method. You could have a choir behind you, like they did in the recording, like they did on the record. So I mean, there's some options with this song. So let's start exploring them. The riff, it starts in with a riff, and then there's there's the vocals. The guys are singing there, and then they kind of have another riff, lead guitar part comes in, and then the verse starts. So let's take a look at the page, and I will have the Google Doc link so you can print your own copy there. I will start making that a regular practice, and I'll go through my old videos and start putting all the links there. So if you want to print off these charts that I made myself, you can. You might notice that I put an A in that A2. I put a /C#, which is somewhat easier to achieve with the capo. Doing that with the no capo and playing the chords is a little bit different. I might do another video of me without a capo, just to show that method as well, where that could be your second guitar if it's just two guitars and you guys are just playing rhythm acoustics or something, like next to a campfire or whatever. But there's your intro riff. It lasts for about 10 beats, and then it goes into the E and E suspended, which is really there's no, I don't know if there's a rhythm guitar actually playing during that. It's mostly the vocals the vocals, they equate to an E major and an E suspended chord. So to kind of facsimile that, I did myself playing an E and an E suspended, which would go with vocal were they being sang, so you could have that much richer of a sound. There's kind of a bass roll down or walk down or whatever you want to call it, happening within those D second, A second, and E chords, and I'll explain those in further detail. And we have verse 1. I'll show you that, and we'll just go through all that. I'll play it, and then we'll backtrack and explain. I tried to come up with some sort of way, if you're playing by yourself, no one else, how you can kind of facsimilate the lead part within a rhythm guitar chording pattern. So something like this. So something kind of that. Even really, there's probably 100 different ways to do it. So it's basically to a a D, quote unquote D chord. So those notes should sound like this. I know some of you might finger it like, oops, you might finger it different. So if you do, that's fine. Then my your note should sound like this. So if you can kind of look at the way my hands are without me trying to explain each finger and each fret, those should be the notes you get. I mean, you can do. It's always good to play with fingerings and maybe find a better way to switch between chords. So, but anyway, I like doing it this way. I'm kind of using my pinky instead of my ring finger, which I could, use, but and sort of a. So back to those chords. So it's like. Try to throw the lead part in there with my voice. Then you kind of have that. So it's 1 2 3 4 1 2 3 4 1 2, and then we go on to the. Bass walk down the sort of, because that's what the bass guitar does. Now I'm not playing it. The note goes down to a low E, which really to do that and get the right low E note, I need to lower my E string down a step to a D, which is another option you have with this song. You could do just. So that way you can actually hit the right low note. You could go. Let me do that slow for you real quick. This is, again, you've lowered your E string down to a D, and then you're capoing up on the 2nd fret to get that note back up to an E, because it's an F sharp if you're in standard. So it's. Or you can play that open 4th string. So either way it's so that's an option, and again, the lower D does sound nice because then you can go. Nice rich 6-string sound. Played on 12 string. I actually played it on 12 string when we did it live, so it was even richer. But I did not do the lower D thing, and I did not do the capo on the 2nd fret when we did that. But I did have all 12 strings ringing because I was doing the E chord, like this. Either way, the fingering that you do. But I'm going to go ahead and raise my string back up. I'm trying to tune by ear. So that's another way to go about playing the song with the lowered string, or at least a taste of how that would work. And then it's just paying attention to your bass notes. Anyway, So anyway, we got, if we're doing it in standard, I kind of do a roll back up. Especially if you're one guitar and you want that roll down to be there, then you have to do something like this. It's more like, the way I do it is so I kind of go back up. And that's, like I said, that if you're by yourself and you're playing, you don't want to lower your string, but you want that roll down. That's the best way. That's the way that I like to do it. In that, if you roll down if you lower your 6th string, your E string down to a D, then you can hit that actual low E note that's in the actual recording. If you're with a group, then you can possibly simplify your playing a little bit and let your bass player and maybe your lead guitar guy can just sort of play in sync with each other with that roll down, and you can just kind of chord along something like this, like you can do like a there's a little pause in there. Did you notice? So it's you can make it as simple or as complicated as you want. You can take out the notes you either don't want or feel are too difficult to play, all the way up to lowering your D string so everything is there when you're playing by yourself or with a group. You know, like I said, there's flexibility within what's going on here. So go ahead and if you're playing with a group, enjoy the flexibility you've got there. So we got. That's the minimum number of notes in that bass walk down that I like. It still simplifies it, but there's enough of it there to make it still recognizable to the original recording, I think. So I kind of make sure that when I'm done with my 5th string, kind of mute it so your root note will be your. So it's kind of, because as I'm, excuse me, as I'm doing the walk down on the 5th string, I'm kind of touching the 4th string to mute it. So I'm touching it. So if I do when I'm strumming, it doesn't, make a sound. I mean, you could leave it open. You could. You can do this, and then when you let go, that string should pretty well shut up. 5th string should pretty well shut up. You can go. So with strumming, I'm just making it so you know what the exact notes are, so you can hear them, and that should, if you hear those notes, then your fingers are in the right place, and I don't have to explain the fingering. And maybe not have to, people who wish I had a tab, maybe that's the next best thing I can do without having to write up a tab. I kind of. Another thing, sorry, there's so many little things I found while I was doing this. When you could do a suspended chord and it wouldn't sound too bad. So what I'm doing is I'm walking down, I'm going like. Okay, now definitely don't hit that 6th string. Mute it with, if you can, reach up with your middle finger and cover it to mute it. So that's all you hear. And then I just, this finger is going from, now it's hitting on the, I am going to explain this one here, going from the relative 3rd fret to the 2nd, to the 3rd string on the 2nd, and I'm letting this finger let go of pressing down this, or well, it's not letting go, it's just kind of now it's going to slide from being on top of this 6th string to being between my 5th and 6th. So I have a, without any notes I don't want from the 5th and 6th string. So if you're not used to that kind of thing, of course you're going to have to practice it a little bit, and once you get used to that kind of, it's basically making a rule to yourself of I'm going to mute whatever's not supposed to be heard, and figuring out how do I do that. So I figured out, I rest this finger between my 5th and 6th on chords where I only want my 1st through 4th strings to ring, generally like D shapes or whatever. And you adhere to that rule, and eventually it becomes habit, and then you're not having to, learn how to do that, because you have learned how to do that. So that's just a guitar playing habit that you can get into as a strumming rhythm guitarist, to keep your notes clean, to keep your notes, making sure you're only playing what you're supposed to. So anyway, so there's that. I mean, that's the walk down simplified, the walk down at its most complicated, the walk down with the lower D string. Variables of playing with yourself versus a group. So there's a lot you could do with this song here. But anyway, let's go into verse 1. So the verses, I kind of have, some of you might say, man, that sounds country, and I would agree with you. And I think there's actually, if you listen, rock and roll is supposed to be, I think it's supposed to be a fusion of rhythm and blues and country music. So anyway, if that's my personal theory, how many other people have had that thought, or if that's what the actual history actually was, I don't know. But anyway, so I kind of do a hammer-on in there because it's fun. I just like the sound of it. I like that. And I'm trying to somewhat simulate the sound of the transition of notes in the recording with this method of playing on the 2nd fret. So it still feels like the original recording, even though it's a little bit different way to go about it. So there's kind of that hammer on with the E, so it's like, so when I do my I'm doing my muting. I'm pressing down the 5th string, muting the 4th. So my notes are, and then when I let go, so it's, so it kind of gets that, the way that the notes travel in the song, in the original recording. I know in the original recording, it's more of a muted palm thing. It's so it's kind of a E to a D to an E, then a D to with some kind of A major or 2nd to an E. But he's kind of palm muting it, and so the higher strings aren't really playing in the original recording. And this one, it's kind of the way I chord it's dependent on me playing those higher notes. So that's where possibly people who want to play true to the recording are going to probably hear this and not like it. But but say it's you and just a couple of 2 guitars. You have the guy without the capo doing the original way, and you're up here. And you could sort of palm mute these too, I guess. But I kind of like to I personally like to let them ring out. But whatever works for you. Let me kind of give you some words. I didn't really sing the words when I was doing that, so. And I'm probably going to simplify what I'm doing because when I sing, I have a whole other part of my brain that has to be concentrating on that, so I kind of have to. It's always, half the time when I played in my church band, somebody else sang, so that was nice. I could be a little more fancy in my playing. But anyway, here we go. I got a face everybody knows. Fly around barefoot when it snows. Knowing that you're here when you're dragging along. Riding in the road and you know that's wrong. So whatever you have to do to make that functional, you know, simplify your playing, or find somebody else to sing so you don't have to simplify your playing. That might be an issue too. Alright, let's see. For the dangerous, hiding inside the best of us. Taking what you want like it's all to them. Some of us do the best we can. Some of us do the best we can. Hey, brothers. He's way up there. Brothers, brothers. See, it's really hard for me to sing. Everyone's spirit of tongues. Yeah, that's where somebody else definitely on this song, if we're going to play it in the original key, drop it down. You know, drop it down for me, maybe take the capo off and play it in D instead of E, because it's too high for me. It's too high. Or have me sing a harmony, you know, let somebody else in the group sing the highest part, and I'll take a harmony seat, and that's fine with me because I can't get that note. You know, I want it to sound good, and I can't hit that note, so I need somebody else, probably one of the ladies, to hit that note for me, or one of the really high tenor guys. So anyway, yeah, but I really broke it down there. So okay, let me sing and play that chorus for you. I'm going to sing it in my lowered harmonious part rather than the original lead note part, so here we go. Brothers, brothers, everybody's speaking in tongues, we're not speaking in little. Oh, oops, I did it wrong. Brothers, oops, screwed it up again. Which pretty much progresses the same as the first verse. Pretty much, there's a little bit of nuance, differences there that the band does, which keeps the song more interesting, frankly. It does. But for what we're learning, I'm not going to do that. So yeah, the little nuances, that's something I'm really going to say, go ahead and just learn this first if you haven't got it. You know, learn it the way it's done, and then start playing around within it, and start, you know, breaking the rules a little bit, or deviating from the formula just a little, to make it a little more exciting and more fun. And that way you can kind of being able to do that stuff kind of helps you, like what's being said in verse 2 is different from verse 1, so how do you play notes that complement the words "put me in the water, put me in the fire"? You know, those are, you know, like put me in the place where it isn't safe, you know, so play some dangerous notes or whatever to fit the mood of those lyrics. So where your guitar playing gets a little more less thinking and more feeling. Maybe Bruce Lee might talk about. So yeah, so you can start really putting more emotion into your playing and make it more exciting to play, more exciting to be heard by your audience, and stuff like that. So, but anyway, there's your chorus. So it's kind of, now I'm doing that hammer on to just make it more exciting. That note's out of tune, isn't it? Whoops. So there's your verse 2. It's hard to play and sing for me. Really, when I'm doing this, it's more easier to just give you the. That's a basic way you can play the verses there. That was from beginning to end from for a verse that way. Anyway, and it's somewhat simplified because there's certain parts where that bass roll down happens, and certain places where it's just not happening. So sort of pay attention to what's happening within the recording to get that. And I did kind of indicate that. I didn't show you page 2, did I? There you go. I'm sorry. This is probably going to be one of the longest videos I've ever made. There's the first chorus with the chords. Hopefully you can see where I said bass roll down or bass walk down. I don't think most people say walk down. I think it's the more accepted term. There's the short interlude, with that lead part playing over top it. And then there's verse 2 in its entirety. If you want it closer up, there you go. There's the first half of it. There's that. There's the second half of it. And again, the Google Doc link will be there, so if you want to print off your own copy so you can hold it as close to your face as you need to, or put it on your tablet or whatever, you can do that. But yeah, that's basically how the first chorus and the second verse go. Let's take a look at what I have. The third page is the 4 pages altogether. So we have a second chorus here, which is pretty much almost exactly the same as the first chorus in terms of the chord changes. Listen to the recording if there's any nuance to be captured. You notice that I sketched in pencil how to play the A7 suspended and A7. Now this is in the Capo 2 fashion or formation or whatever the word I want is for that, what I call a breakdown there. And then there's the guitar solo, which is it is the verse chord progression pattern. So it's not new. It's not a whole. It doesn't deviate terribly from the song at all. You can see how it does that E, D second E, and then the D second, A second, E, total of 4 times. Those two bars repeated 4 times, and then I'm ending on that. And it's really helpful with the lead guitar playing there to know exactly where that begins and ends. Then you'll have we're going to find a way to make it up if we don't have that option, if we're just playing by ourselves without a group or a lead player of any kind. Then there's there's kind of some repeating of lines from the first and second verse that they do there. And then we'll go into what I call another short interlude, another sort of, the organ and the lead guitar and the bass roll down, and the song's real exciting to listen to. It's meant to. They picked a good song to be their first song on this record. Anyway, so So we'll have another chorus. I'll just play through it. Everybody speaking in tongues, somebody speaking in love. Or we got to speak in love. You know, whatever. Jump into a quickly into that A7 suspended, which this chord is hard to quickly jump into. It's going to take you a little practice. It's going to take me a little practice. And getting used to then jumping right back into that E for that lead guitar solo part. Start singing, people got a thing more than dangerous, find it inside the best of us. They can walk the wall like it's all to them, some of us do the best we can. And you want to burn me in the fire, put me in the world and I'll walk that wire. When the people come and I sing and go, talk all day, but it's what they show. Hey! And then we go into a third chorus, and I'm going to stop. But I'm trying to show how one part leads into the other. Okay, so we kind of went over chorus. Let me do that one more time if I didn't get it quite right. So you have this is your E chord, here's your A, or A, it doesn't have, I wrote A second on the page because that fits with the non-capo version, but anyway, you can do just a straight A major here, which you would go like this. So I'm pressing down my 6th while muting my 5th, and all my notes were just what I just played. And then I do my, and I kind of do a, and you could kind of get those, where in these chords I normally usually I usually play the root and mute the string below where I'm going. I like to actually go ahead and leave that string open, during those chords, so it's oh well, shoot, and I did it again. Now I do mute it when I'm going to do that, and then I do my little hammer on stuff. To our A suspended 7th, which those notes are hard to. It is hard not to mute that. It's an awkward chord. For me, it is. I don't know about you guys. So I'm pressing down. I better explain this one. I'm pressing down relative 3rd fret, my 6th and 4th. I'm muting my 5th while I'm touching, I'm pressing down the 6th string on the 3rd fret. I'm leaving my 3rd string open, at least I'm trying to, and then I have my 1st fret with my pointer finger and my 3rd fret 1st string on the pinky. So for the A7 suspended, the only thing to the A7th is I just lift up my pointer. or if you wanted to, you could go, if you want to get even more 7th-y about it, or just switch up to something a little more to kind of get that in there. But that's one I didn't practice enough to the point where it's perfect. I practiced it enough to do the video, so there's that. So anyway, that's how to handle those breakdown chords. If you're doing it without a capo, it's a heck of a lot easier. It's so it's for the A7 suspended, then it sounds like when he starts doing the sort of double time strum, he hits that note on the 3rd fret right there. But that's without a capo, if that matters to anyone. And that's a whole nother guitar lesson. And this one's already getting long. So we have the verse chord progression with a solo guitar happening with it. And then we go into what's sort of a bit of a repeat of some lines from the first and second verses. So people got to think the dangerous, find it inside the best of us, taking what they want like it's all to them. Some of us do the best we can. Put me in the water, put me in the fire. Boy, I forgot to put me in those lines. Put in the water, put in the fire. Anyway, put me in the world and I'll walk that wire. Seen people come and I've seen them go. Talk all day, but it's what they show. Hey, and then we got the another bass walk down happening. And let me show you that page. Okay, so there's that. The short, I call the short interlude, or second short interlude. Leading into a 3rd chorus, and then basically an outro thing. That's what I called it, to give it some kind of label. So you're repeating the chorus again, and then we have the word love sang 3 times with these E and A and E chords sung or played with it, and then the ending's kind of they slow down a little bit, and that lead riff, that intro riff, is played again. And there's the chords to play along with it, and then sort of a bum bum at the end. That's why I did the 2 E chords there. There's the bum bum because the bass drum, the kick drum gets hit and sort of bum bum to end it out. Stomp it at the end. So anyway, let's let's play through that, and then let's break it down, and then we can be done. So it's a long video. So we have short interlude. Your guitar's whoops, I still haven't got that walk down right, sorry. Switching, I still haven't worked out all the details. And then basically ends like that. My chord placement might have been slightly off here. I definitely recommend learning this, getting it fairly comfortable with it. When you feel that way, try to play with the recording to really get everything where it should be. there, but we're not really doing anything different. That outro is basically what I did on the intro, so I kind of showed you that already. Yeah, so there's really not, it's not too new in terms of anything you're learning. It's just, yeah, it's just sort of, you know, the song, they have ways of playing their instruments so that emotions are in there, you know, the palm muting and then the choruses burst out and things like that, the kind of idea that's been used for a while now. Yeah, but yeah, this is probably my longest video I've ever made now. But yeah, so I'll definitely have the chart link there so you guys can print that off. Just those bass walk downs, some of that you're just going to have to practice. It's not going to come to you the first or the 10th time even. Get it smooth enough to where you feel comfortable trying to play along with the recording. And then, or whatever, however you or your group are going to interpret this song. So you feel like you've got all the parts that you want to be in there. Yeah, so yeah, just comment. Let me know what's up with this song, if you're liking this. I know this video is long and everything, and hopefully it wasn't too tedious or kind of, I tried. So, yeah. But anyway, keep learning.